Hey folks, this is Astro Diver number 1. Today I'm doing a oil change on a 2019 Volvo XC40 2-liter turbo. To open the hood, a little trick is to look at the Volvo emblem and see how it points up to 2 o'clock. That is the latch to release the hood. Volvo states that service intervals should be 10,000 miles if it's a 2013 and newer model. If it's a 2013 and earlier, it should be 7,500. They don't give you a specific set of miles to do the oil change, but 10,000 miles should be the time. This vehicle now has 9,800 miles on it, and a engine service interval light came on a few hundred miles ago. As many of you may know, there's not even an oil dipstick on this. You need to use the electronic oil level indicator inside the vehicle, which is showing that it is full. If you're taking the backyard redneck approach to this, this is where you're going to want to jack it up. This is the passenger front. You can see there's a notch right there, and underneath there is this thick part of the unibody frame that you're supposed to jack from. You always want to set another jack stand adjacent to the hydraulic jack, just in case a hydraulic seal goes. The car won't land on your head. The engine compartment has a plastic cover that goes over it, and I believe there are 7 T30 Torx screws that hold it on. So we're going to get those off. Again, those are T30s. Alright, for some crazy reason, the front 5 cover fasteners are a T30. The ones in the back, and one is actually missing from the factory, so much for quality control. The ones in the back are a T20. You know, I would have just taken it to the dealer and have him do it for free, but it's a 4-hour round trip and a real pain in the ass. But this cover is making that 4-hour round trip look like less of a pain in the ass. Alright, that should be it. Alright, so you're going to have 5 of the T30s in the front, and then you should have 7 of the T20s in the back and on the sides, and then there's one body clip right there that has to be popped out, and then the cover's off. Alright, once that cover's off, it's quite easy to get the stuff. But the oil filter is right here in the front passenger, and then the drain plug is at the back of the crankcase, and that is a 17 millimeter. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to crack the oil cap loose, just hopefully let the oil drain a little bit quicker. And then crack this 17 millimeter loose. Drain the oil. Alright. The oil drain plug was not on tight at all. Just remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. We're going to see what oil with 9,800 original miles looks like. My guess is it's going to be black. But the electronic oil fill level indicator did say that it was completely full. So here we go. Oh, it's black. So we're going to let that drain, and oil filter will be next. So to get the car back down level again, to make sure all that oil gets out of the crankcase, I pulled out my little safety jack and dropped the car level again. So one thing to note here is Volvo uses a crush gasket, which I haven't seen anybody use in years and years, but those should be replaced every time. In my situation, it wasn't on very tight. I'll just snug it up a bit more, and then I'll check for leaks before I put that cover back on. But just make sure to get a new crush gasket for the engine drain plug. The oil filter has a T40 for the drain right here. This probably just gets out any extra oil or releases any vacuum in the filter itself. By the way, for the filter, you're probably going to need a wrench for it. I tried it with my hands. It's just on a little too tight. Alright, got that little T40 out. Yeah, just a little bit of oil coming out of that. Yeah, it's an interesting setup. Unlike a regular oil filter, you break it loose and just spin it off. This one resists all the way, and then you get mostly unthreaded, and oil really starts to pour out the bottom. And then the last thread, it seems to just act like any other filter. Alright, we have a rain delay here, so I guess this will be a good opportunity to show you how to change out the filter from the canister. This is a filter I bought online, like $7-8. This is the Parts Plus number, and that is the original equipment number. So the first thing you notice when you take the filter out of the box is you're going to have an O-ring right there, and that goes up towards the engine. You're going to have another large O-ring which is going to go around the canister, and then you got a little guy here, and that's going to go on that T40 torque screw at the bottom of the canister. Alright, so we're going to pop this out, the filter out of the canister. You can see there's some little notches there in the bottom that lock it into the canister. Then I'm going to dump the remaining oil out of this canister and then wipe it out. Just wipe that out real quick. Get all that old oil out of there. Okay, then we're going to remove this outer O-ring off the canister. So I just get like a hook tool, pull it up and off. Alright, and then make sure to clean that groove of all the old oil. Alright, we're going to take the old filter, put it in the new filter box, always a good place for it. Set that aside. We're going to get the new large O-ring out. And something is important here. I'm going to put a coat of fresh oil on any of these O-ring type surfaces. We're going to put some of our Castrol Edge Extended Performance. So once we get that fresh oil on, you just want to gently roll that O-ring on. Be careful, the edges can be sharp. You just don't want to cut the O-ring. Then until it pops down into that groove. And that's that. Now this little O-ring that goes around the Torx T40 at the bottom of the cartridge, we're just going to pop this guy out. As so. Grab the new one and put clean oil on that and replace it. Alright, now that that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in last. I'm going to leave it out so I don't forget about it and forget to tighten it. I'm not sure exactly what it does, so once I get the filter back in and the canister tight, I'm going to go ahead and put this in and tighten it. And then lastly, just make sure that you get some fresh oil on this O-ring that comes pre-installed on the filter cartridge itself. Alright, well, it's starting to rain pretty hard here, so I don't know if I'm going to get this finished today. I may have to wait till tomorrow. Alright, well, rain or not, I still have to get this done. Just make sure that the case here that the housing goes into is nice and clean. And we're just going to set that up in there and spin it on as far as we can. And again, you're going to need an oil filter wrench for this one. Alright, so again, you're going to need an oil filter wrench. Make sure that it's all the way up against the aluminum block here. And then lastly, we're going to put this little drain plug with our newly oiled O-ring into the bottom and secure it with a T40. And of course, don't forget to put in your drain plug. Just wipe the oil down. Again, I'm reusing a crushed gasket, so I'm going to let the engine run just to make sure that it's not leaking before I put that obnoxious cover back on. That should do it. Alright, as I mentioned before, you can see here in the owner's manual, the Volvo requires Castrol Edge Professional. I found out that Castrol Edge Professional is only distributed to dealerships. So I went ahead on Castrol's site, and they say that their best oil that you can buy is Castrol Edge Extended Performance, which has a 20,000 mile guarantee. And the oil changes on this are supposedly at 10,000. So we're gonna also, as you can see, it holds 5.9 quarts. I don't know if that's with filter. I'm assuming it is. So what I'm going to do is put 5.7 or 8 quarts in it, and then just out of curiosity to see if that oil level indicator actually works, I'm going to put it about 2/10 of a quart dry. So I'm going to bring the second one here down to right about there, just over that 4-quart marker. Just an FYI, Walmart sells these for $25 per 5 quart, and then the filter was like $7. So you can kind of think of it as a $57 oil change, plus you get 4 quarts extra to put in your lawnmower or whatever. Alright, that should be about 5.8 quarts in there. Alright, let's start her up. Well, one thing I'm going to have to do is look up how to reset the oil to show that it's been changed. I don't know how to do that. The manual says that the engine has no way of knowing if the oil has been changed or not. So, but strangely enough, the service warning triangle is not on the dash anymore. So I'll get back to you in a minute on that. And I still have to check that drain plug, make sure there's no leaks. The engine's cold, the oil is cool, so the oil pressure should be at its highest. I don't think there is an oil pressure gauge on this, so one more crawl underneath the vehicle, make sure that sucker's not leaking. Yeah, it's looking good to me. Not wet, dry as a bone. That should have been the highest the oil pressure would get because it's cold and everything, and the oil's thick. So I think we're set to put that cover back on. Alright, I'm going to try this here to reset the maintenance light, which I think is off automatically anyhow. Supposed to press the start button without starting it. Hold down on the negative on the cruise control. And then I have to put the camera down, start the vehicle. And then there should be a flashing maintenance light that should come up after 10 seconds. I believe that's it. And as soon as it starts flashing, take your finger off that negative button And the maintenance reminder's been reset. Alright, we're all set. Okay folks, I hope that helped out. I'm sorry it was shaky. It's been raining and I'm doing it out in the yard, and you know, lots of fun. Now I have to jack the car back up and get in the mud and put on that silly cover. Any questions? Please leave them in the comments below. Thanks guys. So real quick, before I pop this cover back on, I want to show you my intended way of doing it. This is the correct orientation. What I'm going to do is, it has this one body clip back here that just pops in. I'm going to slide it under, line these holes up, and then just pop in that body clip to hold the back end up. That's probably the purpose of a clip. And then go ahead and do the larger T40s or 30s, I think, up in front, and then get the smaller T20s in the back after.